After lowering her father into the ground, Larisa slipped her hand into his jacket pocket and found a note that changed everything. My daughter, come to my grave tomorrow at. The coat was still warm. That was what undid me. It shouldn't have mattered. My father had been in the ground for 3 hours. The soil was still fresh, the condolences still echoing in my ears. Of course his clothes would hold warmth. Of course fabric remembers the shape of a body. But when I pressed my hands into the lining, it felt like he had just shrugged it off. And then the paper fell out. A small fold. Creased twice. My name written in the slanted script I'd watched form grocery lists and birthday cards my entire life. Daughter. Come to my grave tomorrow. 4 p.m. My lungs forgot how to work. 4 p.m. He was pronounced dead at 5:50. The hospital had been precise about that. Peaceful heart failure, they said. Natal. Quiet. I had repeated those words to myself like a prayer, like a sedative. My stepmother repeated them too. Smoothly, gently, the way you recite a line you've practiced in front of a mirror. Nothing strange happened, Aurelia. It was time. But the ink on that page hadn't faded. It hadn't trembled like something written weeks ago. It looked urgent. Recent. Impossible. He wrote this after he died. That was the thought that split me open. All the numbness that had protected me through the funeral dissolved into something sharp and electric. This wasn't a goodbye. It was a summons. And someone very much alive, didn't want me to answer it. I didn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes I saw Daria's face at the funeral. The way she cried without smudging her mascara. The way she squeezed my hand too tightly when the doctor said heart failure. The way she hurried the burial as though grief had a closing time. By morning my chest felt caged. When my father married her 2 years ago I tried to be gracious. I told myself love changes dynamics. I told myself distance was natural. But slowly he faded. He stopped laughing as loudly. Stopped inviting me to lunch. Stopped sounding like himself. I blamed stress. I never blamed her. Till now. I went back to the apartment. It felt wrong the moment I stepped inside. Not sad. Not hollow. Arranged. Surfaces gleamed. Cushions were aligned. The air smelled faintly of polish instead of absence. His favorite ceramic mug, the chipped blue one, was gone. The novel he always left half-read by the sofa, gone. The little music box he once told me would be mine someday, gone. The hospital collected his belongings, Daria had said. Strange. They'd somehow missed the jacket. I opened his wardrobe again, my fingers tracing the inner seams like I was searching for a pulse. Something scraped against my nail inside the lining. Another fold of paper. This one smaller. The handwriting less steady. As if the pen had been fighting time. If you found the first message, don't trust her. No name. None needed. My body knew. Daria. The woman who cried too perfectly. Who avoided my eyes. Who pushed for the burial before the week ended. Who argued with him about money in sharp, poisonous whispers when she thought I couldn't hear. Memories rearranged themselves like pieces of a puzzle finally turning the right way. The late-night arguments. The tremor in his voice. The way he once started to say something to me over lunch. Then stopped when his phone lit up with her name. He wasn't just tired. He was afraid. I slipped both notes into my coat pocket and locked the apartment behind me. Tomorrow at 4 p.m., I was meant to stand at a grave that shouldn't have anything left to say. If this was a warning, someone expected me to ignore it. If it was a trap, someone expected me to walk into it alone. The elevator dinged. I turned. Daria stood there. Watching. Her mouth curved, not into warmth, not into grief, but into something thin and assessing. Like she was measuring the distance between suspicion and certainty. Aurelia, she said softly. Looking for something? I didn't answer. Because in that moment I understood something with terrifying clarity. She wasn't wondering what I was doing. He was trying to see if I already knew. When the elevator doors slid shut behind her, I exhaled a breath I didn't realize I was holding. By the next day, every step toward the cemetery felt like I was walking deeper into a story my father tried desperately to tell before death silenced him. The sky was dull, heavy, as if it too carried secrets. I arrived at 3:58 p.m. No one was there, just the grave. Fresh soil, flowers already wilting. I knelt beside the headstone, fingers brushing the cold stone. "Papa, I'm here," I whispered. At 4:02 my phone buzzed. A message, unknown number. Turn around. My blood chilled. Behind me stood Daria, dressed in black, a little too elegant for mourning. Her expression wasn't grief. It was irritation, almost boredom. You weren't supposed to find those notes, she said calmly. He was getting difficult, talking too much. He needed to be silenced before he ruined everything. My breath snapped. You killed him. A slow, satisfied smile curved her lips. I finished what he started. The ground felt like it tilted beneath me. Then she stepped closer. Now we have a problem, Moralia. For a moment I couldn't breathe. Not because of fear, because of clarity. Everything my father had tried to warn me about. Everything he couldn't say out loud now stood inches from my face, wearing perfume and false mourning. But Daria made one mistake. She thought shock would paralyze me. Instead it sharpened me. I stood slowly, forcing calm into my voice. Why are you telling me this? He shrugged. Closure. And because no one will believe you. You're emotional, grieving, unstable. She leaned closer and I already cleaned everything. Her confidence, her arrogance was a gift because while she talked, while she gloated, while she bragged about being untouchable, I remembered something. My father wasn't careless. He didn't leave notes for nothing. If he hid these, he hid more. And his apartment had dozens of places he never let anyone touch. Books with hollowed centers, loose floorboards, the locked drawer in a study. Daria took my silence as defeat. Of course she did. She only understood loud emotions, not quiet strategy. When she walked away, heels slicing into the gravel, she tossed one last sentence over her shoulder. Let it go, Aurelia. The dead don't talk. But she was wrong. My father had already started speaking. Now it was my turn and I was going to finish what she started. I returned to the apartment with a steadiness that surprised even me. Grief had cracked open a new version of myself. Quieter, sharper, colder. The kind of woman my father used to call my little strategist. I started in his study, the locked drawer. I opened it the way he taught me when I was little. Press, lift, slide. Inside was a flash drive, unlabeled, hidden beneath old receipts. My pulse kicked. Next, the floorboard under the bookshelf, his favorite hiding spot. I pried it up and found a tiny voice recorder wrapped in cloth. When I pressed play, his voice filled the room. Aurelia, if you're hearing this, she's already lied. I sank to the floor, hand over my mouth. He detailed everything. How Daria had been draining his accounts. How she forged medical documents. How she threatened to speed up the inevitable if he didn't sign over the apartment. And then the final recording, a conversation between them. Her voice was unmistakable. Sign it or your death will be uglier than it needs to be. My blood froze. He recorded her. He protected the evidence. He trusted me to find it. So I built the plan. A lawyer friend who owed me a favor, a carefully timed message to the police, and a scheduled visit from Daria to discuss inheritance. Tomorrow she would walk straight into the trap he and I set together. The next morning I brewed tea with hands that no longer trembled. The grief hadn't disappeared, but it had changed shape. It had become purpose. At 11 a.m. I texted Daria exactly what she wanted to hear. I think we should settle the inheritance peacefully. Come to the apartment. Predictably, she replied within seconds. On my way. Sharks always swim fastest toward blood. I positioned everything carefully. The flash drive on the desk. The recorder beside it. The legal documents my lawyer helped prepare spread neatly in a folder that said evidence in bold red print. When she entered, her expression cracked just slightly. Not fear, not guilt, annoyance. You're still chasing fantasies? She scoffed, tossing her purse onto the couch. I gestured to the desk. Not fantasies, his words. She glanced at the recorder and froze. For the first time, something flickered in her eyes. Recognition, then dread. You don't have the rights to. He gave them to me. I interrupted softly. His voice, his story, his proof. The door behind her opened. 2 officers stepped inside. My lawyer followed. Daria spun toward me, betrayal twisting her features. What did you do? I met her gaze, steady, unblinking. Listen to the dead. Her throat bobbed as realization hit. This wasn't a conversation. This was checkmate. For a moment, Daria didn't move. She just stood there, breathing too fast, like a predator who finally realized the cage had always been around her, not me. The officers read her the charges. Fraud, coercion, attempted murder. But the final blow came when my lawyer opened the folder and slid a document across the table. A bank statement, her signature, forged transfers. Daria's face collapsed in on itself. You planned this? She whispered, voice cracking. No, I said quietly. He did. I only finished it. As they handcuffed her, she thrashed. You little fool. He was weak. He was dying anyway. I stepped closer, lowering my voice to a blade. He didn't die because he was weak. He died because you were afraid of how strong he still was. Her scream echoed down the hallway as they dragged her out. Silence settled like dust after a storm. For the first time since his death, I felt air fill my lungs without burning. That evening I returned to the cemetery alone. The sky was bruised purple, soft, like it knew I needed gentleness. I placed the notes beside his headstone, smoothing the paper as if it were his hand. Papa, it's done, I whispered. She can't hurt anyone anymore. You can rest now. A warm wind brushed my cheek. Light, soft, impossibly timed, as if he answered. I closed my eyes. Justice wasn't loud. Revenge wasn't violent. It was quiet, precise, final, just the way he taught.